or moderator, they are available in this call. Brother Butane. All right. No, thanks. Good evening, brothers and sisters. We meet again. Today is the 28th, no, the 29th of April. We are in our episode number 5, where we have and Brother Tebogo just to come share obstacle youth participate with the conversation of today. I would wish to invite, I've seen student minister Marachidi to open with a word of prayer. And then after that, we'll request great and guests to turn on their camera as our technical team will be pinning them to the screen. Marachidi.
Good afternoon, beloved, and to my fellow president, Madam President, greetings. Let us give thanks for the session. Let us pray. Our God and our Father in heaven, thank you. Thank you for this beautiful afternoon. Thank you for this congregation, Lord God. You have congregated us in this unique fashion, Lord God. May everything that will be spoken here, Lord God, give glory to you. May it be to your benefit. May we learn what you wish for us to learn. May the knowledge that we will gain here today, Lord God, help us to expand and to bring good fruits into your church. May the words that will be shared here bring unity, peace, and understanding. And for any other person who is not fortunate enough to join us due to technical errors, may we be the mouthpiece that share this good news with them. Bless the leadership of the youth. Bless the moderator and the host in Christ's name.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Theo. Brothers and sisters, the topic of this evening, we are dealing with unemployment as an obstacle to youth participation in the church. And we found it to be necessary that we discuss such issues, as these are the practical issues that we face in our daily lives. We are the church that believes in the Belhar Confession, and part of the Belhar Confession says that the church will stand with the poor and the church will give bread to the poor. But the reality of the matter is that we are unable to give our community the bread if we ourselves, we don't have bread. And often as young people, we are deprived in many opportunities of participating fully in the church because of the issue of unemployment. And of course, when we talk about unemployment, we speak of the reality of poverty in South Africa, in Lesotho and Namibia. And we just want to challenge the moderator and the guest if really we can find alternative means of alleviating this problem. This is a thorny problem in the church, and if we do not express it, we will keep on having what we call youth exodus, people leaving the church because people have considered the church to be an organization of the rich, to be an organization of those which can really afford. Now, does the church also have programs that will assist their very same own members, or we meet only on Sundays and thereafter we go back to our respective homes, we go break the bread with our families, and yet we forget that young man, that young woman who's always in church, making sure that the congregation or the state of the church is ready for members to use it. I'm not going to dwell much, of course. This conversation is under the good, capable hands of our moderator and our guest. But let me take this opportunity and extend it to Brother Pule to just give us a brief background of our moderator and our guest. And I will request that members, if we are not participating, may we please just turn off our mics and turn off our cameras. We will give that opportunity to members that are on the floor. And then when then it's your turn to speak, the technical team will pin you and you'll have that opportunity to open your camera. Brother Pule, I invite you, my brother, to welcome the moderator and the guest, but also to give a brief introduction of our guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Chairperson, the Chairperson of the CYM General Synod, Brother Muyahabo, Tebogo Mokgopa. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to introduce our very, very important speakers of the day, the moderator and the guest of our topic. In our midst, we have Ntate Mokgejane, Brother Tebogo Mokgejane, and Memamuruti Vuyakazi Vinqi. But firstly, I'll start with the bio or the brief bio of the moderator, Ntate Tebogo Mokgejane. Ntate Tebogo Mokgejane is a dedicated professional and a business leader from Taung in the Northwest Province. He's also a member of the United Reformed Church in Southern Africa, URCSA, in the Pororo region. He has also held leadership roles, including serving as the then CYM chairperson of the Kumanis Presbytery. He has the following academic background. Tebogo holds a postgraduate diploma in business management and a master's of business administration, MBA, with the specializations in the following: 1, business transformation; secondly, socio-economic development; thirdly, enterprise and supplier development; and lastly, skills development. He has obtained certificates in the community development and support, further enhancing his expertise in community-focused initiatives. Now, he has the following professional experience with a diverse background spanning various industries, including environmental, mining, aviation, and tourism and hospitality management. That is the current role that he is pursuing now. He has the expertise in the following areas. He's a business consultant specializing in social impact assessments, stakeholder engagement, livelihood assessment, educational development programs. Tebogo has got the following achievements in his life. One of Tebogo's most recent notable achievements is leading the team that successfully tabled an expression of interest to host the G20 summit in the Northwest Province. This effort resulted in the award for the North to host 6 G20 sectoral meetings as a build-up to the main G20 meeting, which will be held in GP, Gauteng Province, later this year, a testament to his leadership and vision. He has the following entrepreneurial ventures. In addition to his professional pursuits, Tebogo is also a dedicated farmer, showcasing his commitment to diverse economic development. Through his work, community development, and entrepreneurial ventures, Tebogo continues to make a positive impact in various communities. That is the conclusion of Brother Tebogo bio. I'll now move on to Mrs. Vuyakazi Vinqi, the guest of the day. Mrs. Vuyakazi Vinqi, she was born and grew up in Gugulethu in Cape Town. She's the firstborn of her 3 siblings, 2 brothers and 1 sister. She's blessed with a handsome husband in 1997, Reverend Vinqi, and they are blessed with 2 children, Spesihle and Sposetu, who are now adults. Her studies and work. The tertiary education, she's qualified teacher who furthered her studies to an honors level at the University of the Western Cape. She also acquired her postgraduate diploma in HIV and AIDS management at the University of Stellenbosch. She's also a certified coach and a motivational speaker. She has worked for the Department of Western Cape Department of Education from 1994 to 2008, when she resigned from a principalship role after 24 years of service. Wow. Presently working as the head of program for non-governmental organization NGOs called Edufundi, facilitating leadership workshops and supporting the school management teams, FMTs, in different schools in the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Gauteng province. She has also developed and facilitates leadership development workshops and coaching sessions for the coaches and mentors of the organization in these 4 provinces. Her faith. She grew up in this church, the United Reformed Church in Southern Africa, from Sunday school, a leader in the MBB, and is now a minister's wife in Lwandle congregation. She leads women as the president of the CWM at the Lwandle congregation, the Cape Regional Synod chairperson from 2016, and the General Synod from 2023. She's currently the president of the CWM General Synod. She is encouraged by the quote that says, if you cannot change the direction of the wind, adjust with the sails and continue the journey of your life. And she's living with this motto. Her motto goes as, make a difference, which is inspired by the Bible verse in Titus 2:8. I quote, in everything set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you may be ashamed, because they have nothing bad to say about us. That is the conclusion of Mrs. Vinqi, Vinqi's bio. Mr. Chairperson, on behalf of the Central Executive Committee, CYM General Synod section, Member Moruti, Tebogo, feel free to to learn more from you on this platform. And we are hoping that this CYM, these members who are online, thank you, Mudlastulo, for the opportunity. I hand everything
Thank
to
you, my brother.
Thank you.
Mama Ruju, we need to check if really Brother Pule is reading what, because when he was like, you are married to Moruti Vinqi, a handsome Moruti Vinqi. So we need to check if those are your words. But for those who do not know Moruti Vinqi, if you see any member of the Modera Men of the General Synod who does not smile or laugh, you must know that's Moruti Vinqi. Thank you, Mama Ruti. Brother Tebogo, strategically, my brother, we have invited you so that when we say we are going to celebrate, you at least release 2 cows from the kraal and assist these unemployed people. This side, we believe that we are going to have a brilliant conversation. And Mama Ruti, as a mother, we are pushing this thing to you to say your children are unemployed, and yet your children want to participate fully into the issues of the church. and we want you to reflect on the barriers that this unemployment can create in meaningful youth involvement in the church life and in the ministry, but also to explore how the unemployment affects the spiritual and emotional beings of young adults, and perhaps explore on how the church can respond, and not only in prayers but practically, to these issues of youth unemployment. This conversation does not belong to me. It belongs to the young people. It belongs to members of the URCSA. And we give you this opportunity to really share with us what you have for us. Thank you. Over to you, brother moderator.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson of CYM, and your leadership under the General Synod, as well as the Presbytery and the regional leadership joined us today, members of Christian Youth Ministry, and all other guests that have joined us today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mamuruti, as our host, in fact, not a host, but as a guest, good evening as well. And I hope we are not going to have an interview session, but rather have a conversation where we can spark interest in terms of the debate regarding this thorny issue. Indeed, the church is confronted with high unemployment, in particular amongst the youth, which becomes an obstacle within the full and meaningful participation, not only within the church, but within the local economy from various communities. And I want us to practicalize this as much as we can. Maybe if I can request, I hear noise background, I'm not sure. Somebody needs to mute if you can do that. Thank you. So before we can even begin with this discussion, let me extend an invitation through you, the chairperson, that this discussion, in actual fact, it is just a baseline platform where the leadership of the CYM at the General Synod will then need to take it even at a higher result of some of these initiatives. It will not be fair and practical for us to exhaust all of these issues, but these issues must be informed by the young people as well that are on this call, some that are not even on this call, but through those who are on this call, if they can get that message through, so that at least at the end of this call, we have a proper background in terms of a document or concept that we can then give to the leadership of the youth. What is important for us to do here is also to look at the current statistics as far as the unemployment is concerned. And I tried to look at, the statistics within our country, Namibia and Lesotho. But generally, Chairperson, allow me on a factual base just to state on what the Stats SA has indicated in terms of the unemployment in the country, which is currently sitting at generally 33%, and the shocking number of 59.6% amongst the youth. And I want us to bring this down to our church and how are we affected, in particular the youth. Now, when you look at the operational model of the church, we have various programs that are led by various ministries under the church leadership. Now, in particular for the CYM, there are various programs, including the fundraising programs, whereby they are not effective as a result of the shortcoming because of young people in their majority, they are unemployed. But it is even said, when you look at the families that we come from, some to a point whereby there is not even a single income in that household. And we go to, various congregation, because of, we see that as a beacon of hope. But years and years are going by, majority of young people, some of them, they endured their youth days, being unemployed, and now they are beyond youth, and they have never even seen a door of an employer. How then do we expect them to be, emotionally, spiritually uplifted while economically we are lagging? And for us to sustain these programs within the church without a sustainable income, whether from households, whether from the church as a result of, what we bring from our household, it will not be possible. And as a result, there will be implication. And it is against this background, Mamruti, that you and I want us to have a conversation. And, I want, through you, the chairperson, to allow us to change the narrative as well as how we want to conduct this, so that we can then, because unemployment hits almost all of us. It hits all our families. It hits all our congregations, including, some of the members. And I want us to look into this by also reflecting on the true reflection in terms of the implication of this high unemployment. You touched on some of this implication in your opening, which results into inequality, poverty-driven, stricken communities, and so on and so on. But I want us to bring it now back to the church in terms of what is it that we can do. But Mamruti, let's start our conversation here. And you are more than welcome to, start from where you are in Gqeberha, cascade it up in terms of, to the country at large. But what we are really looking for is, at the end of this conversation, we need to come up with practical solution and ideas, innovatively so to say. These are challenges that we are faced as young people, but most importantly, how can we collectively address this? Let me hand over to you, Mamruti, just to give us a short overview as well as perspective regarding the high unemployment within our church. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Tebogo. Greetings firstly to CYM Chair, Brother Ramukhoba, and to the CC of the CYM, all the members that are here, and if you allow me a special greeting, I saw and I heard the CWM members say we are coming to support you. So when I saw their names on the screen, it encouraged me even more. So thank you very much, mothers. When Chair I received, I said to my son, I don't know whether the youth will receive me, because in my mind, I thought of a word that I use a lot when I do workshops with different people that I work with, the issue of mindset. Because for me, when I looked at the topic saying unemployment as an obstacle to youth participation, then immediately my mind went to, when a person they look at the word obstacle, and immediately it limits a person's thinking. So in my head, I said, I want to look at your topic. I phrased it also differently to say either unemployment as an opportunity for the youth to see how they could participate in the church, instead of seeing it as an obstacle, or youth participation in the church despite the challenge that the youth is dealing with of unemployment. And also when we look at unemployment, for me, it's what is it that we see? Are we seeing ourselves having bosses that are on top of our heads, telling us what to do when to wake up and where to be at what time, because we are employed by somebody? And most of the time you hear young people saying, I've applied to many places, but I'm not being employed. Then we start seeing this obstacle coming in, and it impacts a person's entire life, the church also being part of that. But in the same breath, I want to acknowledge that this is a reality that we see, this is a reality that we live with. In encouraging young people to say, look at it in a form of saying, how do I make this possible? Positive, so that I can work with it. We also have what we call circles of influence, where maybe others have heard of them, circle of control, of influence, and the circle of concern. Circle of control are things that I can control, can take action, and be sure about, that are depending on me. Then the circle of influence is what I can influence through my actions with what I can control. But when I look at unemployment, I see it as part of the circle of concern, things that I cannot do anything about. I can try and influence them, but they are not dependent on me to change. So unemployment for me, and whilst you are giving, I checked the figures of unemployment in our country, and I said, really, this is huge amongst the youth. But then I love it when you say, how does this then influence a young person in the church? How does this influence this young person in a household? Because that is our reality. If I were to preach, I would come up with Bible verses that are encouraging us as Christians to look at things in a different way, and not the way that the world looks at things. If you look at Christians, we all say there's a purpose that God has for my life. I'm not merely in this world. So if we can look at participation and look at it as a purpose, what is God's purpose with my life in being part of URCSA, in being part of the congregation that I exist in? And not look at participation as one of the other things that people do, but personalize it. And then allow myself to get the strength. When we read Romans 12, it says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual favor and serving the Lord. So there are things that we need to push through as Christians, understanding that when Matthew says, seek first the kingdom of God. So for me, it's the perspective. How do I look at this? What is it that we do as a youth? When they were reading your bio, Brother Tebogo, I listened and I said, there are things that you are doing for yourself because you say, I want to live. As you were talking, you were saying there are youth that live in families that do not have, families where people are not working and that young person is also not working. So as we continue, what are the things that we can do as the youth? Our church is part of the Council of the United Evangelical Mission and the Africa Regional Board. And every time I sit in those meetings and I hear there are volunteer programs where youth move from one country to the other, volunteering, learning, and getting something for themselves, then I'm like, where's our CYM? Where are our youth? And when this topic came, when we were in one meeting, because for me, those are the spaces where our youth can make myself. There's one that is out now in our church office that is requiring youth volunteers to travel. It's either you go to the north, to Germany, or they go to one of the countries we are working with, Tanzania and others, to be a volunteer for a period of time, because then that expands the young person's thinking. So for me, it's those spaces that youth to make themselves available in the areas that our church is part of, in the areas that our church can exist in. Scholarships that are there, that are allowing young people to say, it's even changed now from only giving scholarships to masters and doctoral programs only, even undergraduates, to say, I'm getting this scholarship, but what am I going to do for the church to develop other youth with what I've received? Can I hold it to the
Yeah.
No, thank you very much, Mam Ruti. And I think in one of, I think there's a background noise. Can somebody mute? All right. I think in your discussion, Mam Ruti, you have touched on a couple of issues. One, you are saying, let us stand up as human beings, as young people, and not only look at ourselves by getting an employer, but pursuing, the entrepreneurial skills. But most importantly, also looking at, various programs that are available within our church through various connections of bodies that we have as a church. And I think it is quite important that we also look into those options. But for me, before we get to the solutions, and I want us to look at, day-to-day struggles of the young people, especially the high unemployed young people, from this particular church. We can generalize it to the youth in general in this country, Free State, Lesotho, as well as Namibia. But what is the impact of this youth unemployment? In particular, how they are being deprived from participating fully in the church. I'll give you a hint. Spiritually, I'll attend a church or a sermon. But if I have a burden in my mind in terms of what am I going to eat when I go back after the church service, that spiritual fulfillment is not even enough. It leads to depression. I'm not even there fully, and so on. And what will this lead to if we do not resolve this?
Thank you very much. So when we were talking with the youth, was it last year? As the youth, why is it that you come and you don't come? We see you excited for a few months and then you're gone. And they say, Mama, even when a person is here, the minute you start thinking about all the other things that you need for yourself or you want, and you are unable to get, you want to close yourself in a cocoon. So the minute a person knows that they've got needs that are not met in any way or form, they close themselves, because any person would start wanting to judge themselves and say, maybe I can't live up to the standards of others. So they will want to stay away. That's one that it does. So or socially, they would keep themselves aside because I don't see myself fitting in. And in the church, you will preach and say, Jesus saves. We want young people to be here and do this and that. But it cannot happen because emotionally, these needs are not met. And there's nothing that is making a young person see themselves moving on with others. I mean, when we read books, we know that there are basic needs that a person needs to have fulfilled before the others attend. I was talking to the men's ministry, looking at the young kids that are walking down the street on Sunday morning when we're standing at church. And one of the men was saying, how about if it was easy for us to even get food or bread or even tea and coffee for people to just have in the morning before they come in? Because those are the things, as you say, that make people feel that the church is not a space that I can go into. So having something that uplifts a person's spirits and lifts a person's mental strength. It's knowing that I can stand up for myself. So that is how important it is to know that I am employed or I am doing something for myself. Because if they are not getting any of those, then they leave. And it's not like they go anywhere else, but they go to a space where they know they will get something. It's either a person will find people who are going to provide for them so that they can. And the church loses. So it is important that we recognize these needs as a church and we say, how do we then support our youth? As you say, it can be youth in all the different ages, but it's other members of the church also. Because there are mothers that would feel they cannot come because they have all these things that are in their mind that they cannot support their families. So that is how important the issue of employment or unemployment is in our society and environment.
No, indeed. Thank you, Mamruti. But what about the issue, the stigma and classification? You know, we are human beings, and I'll tell you where I'm coming from with this issue of stigma. Often we go to our churches. In particular, we go to Mokgejane immediately after the church or whichever day, and we discuss, you know, our annual plan or whatever program that needs to be implemented. And we realize that in order for this plan to be implemented, we need to raise funds. For us to raise funds, we need to have at least a start-up on the table. That means we need to go from our pocket, put something on the table. Now, if something, Zukiswa? Now, if on each and every platform, Tebogo always say, I cannot contribute because I do not have, right? Secondly, you have now people within our congregation or even the ministry itself that are starting to classify these people, you know, that they are not participating. And how do we support these people? Some, you know, I had conversation with some of them where they disconnected. They said, I'd rather stay at home because I'm tired of saying I do not have. And as a result, you know, instead of growing and sustaining our ministries, you know, it goes down. How do we strike the balance? To say spiritually, we are here, let us support you, let me love you, and as much as you are, and ensure that I also support you and share what I have with you, or also, you know, making provision to ensure that there is no stigmatization. Because of often we think stigma is outside. In the church, it is. We are even scared to say, I don't have. I will say, I'll make a plan and I disappear. Your views, Mamruti.
So, you know, a level of maturity always helps a person. As you say, we are human beings and we know that for people to feel good about themselves, they would say things or do things to make others feel bad. One, because I want to uplift my own spirit, because of lack of maturity, because of lack of kindness in me, I would do things to others so that I feel good. And when we talk of people in the church, we always have this assumption that all these people are these angels because they are Christians and are in the church. So I always say to people, when you come to a space where there are people, you must first let yourself understand that you are going to encounter every type of person. So expect everything and anything because there are people. Secondly, when we talk about not having, I always say, don't allow yourself to lose control of things by putting everything out there or expecting others to come to your rescue. Because people are dealing with their own things in different ways. Might not be unemployment for me, but be something else. But because there are weaknesses in people of wanting to see ourselves above, then a person will lose what they have. Without having people supporting, at churches when we talk, I come from a congregation first. It's not a big congregation, the congregation of Luandle, and many of the people that are there came to Cape Town for work, and there are not many people who are in professional jobs, so affluent jobs, but people, they are so committed with the little they have. And we started now saying as women that because many of the women are not working, we know these monies are not there, how do you then participate? So that we don't expect you to come with your pocket only. So we are doing bazaars. We have sales. We say, bring what you have in your home. It's a jersey, old jersey that you don't use or your sister doesn't use. Be out there. Because the issue of wanting to close ourselves in, it really doesn't help us. So people would go out and get from others so that we can sell and have without people popping out their monies. And that helps us. And we are all now at the same level. So when you come thinking that people are not going to classify because I don't have, then people are going to have issues. They are going to really be in it allow themselves to go deeper into the hole. Elevate yourself. Tell yourself that this is the area I don't have in. Open up your mind. What is it that I can do so that I can be here? Not looking at participation as a matter of putting my hand in the pocket. And I think that needs the maturity from the entire congregation, that we know who of our people and members do not have. What can we do so that we don't expect from people what they can't give, but we use what is at our disposal to support them so that they feel that they are part. And maybe it will help even a person who knows that I can't give to say, I can use my hands. What can I come and do in the congregation so that everybody or whoever wants to see, but I'm not doing it for people, but for me, knowing that I'm not just here to participate, but this is my calling. It is my purpose to support the congregation, not only with money, but with what I have at my disposal. There's a line that I always use there's a line that I always use that says, the minute we look at people and say, Tebogo is doing his best with what is at his disposal, then we are going to look at people differently. But thinking that people are lazy, people don't want to, we are impacting ourselves negatively and we are impacting others negatively. But we all as congregants need to have a positive look and outlook at things so that we can also be able to support them. Because positivity attracts positivity. But if we look and speak and think negatively, then that is what we're going to live on our everyday.
Yeah. No, indeed. Mamruti, I want us to now shift now and go towards, what is it that can be done? Looking at the statistics that we highlighted earlier on as far as the unemployment is concerned, in particular amongst the youth, and looking at how our economy is growing in comparison to the developing country and how it was supposed to have been, where it is not at the moment. And that it says to us, we need to stand up and be entrepreneurs, create sustainable jobs, and support each other. There is a notion that says, and I will not name this particular religion, but they say 1 rand is circulating 10 times amongst them. And this is what they do. Some of us, we shop, we go to them and we support them. And you get to their shops, and when you get there, you say, I want an item, and they tell you that no. Looking at the shelves, there's no, they don't have that item, and they will then say, I'm going to get it from my storeroom. And the storeroom is non-existent, but the storeroom is the brother within the same. So I will not lose that business, but I will lose it to my fellow brother. And where I'm going with this is we have brilliant ideas. We have brilliant entrepreneurs within our church and ministries. You see, the golf shirt that I'm wearing, it is coming from one of our own. But from a church leadership point of view and various ministries, how do we embrace this certain individual to ensure that he excels, not only within the church, but in other spaces? I'll give you an example in merchandising. In PE, while I was in aviation, there is a school called WOMA there. And I was told by the principal then, who said, in this particular community, there are only 2 firms that are producing school uniforms for the entire schools within WOMA. And I said, it cannot be correct while we have this high unemployment. And the skills development program was initiated for, unemployed mothers and fathers there to start producing uniform and other merchandise. And I left that project whereby they were still mobilizing other schools through Department of Education to do that. Let's bring it home. We have somebody who initiated this to say, I will be able to give you quality and reliability as far as church merchandise is concerned. How do we take that forward from a job creation and ensure that we support that person, but at the same time, we ensure that that particular individual also serves the church, whether through an agreement of some sort, to say each and every merchandise that I sell in this particular region, I dedicate R1 towards a particular. So you have then created, and that is the thinking where we need to start looking at. In our numbers, we have bargaining power. Imagine now we are guaranteeing this man to say annually, each and every ministry will give you sales of 5,000, 15,000. Where he is buying material, he's going to save. Then we are saying to him, he must go and employ even more and sustain that. But direct benefits to the church, we then enter into agreement to say, from each presbytery, when we sell X amount, how much are we going to retain, not even in the church, but towards community or those who are in need from the communities. And I want us to start looking at those possible solutions from a collaboration point of view.
It's funny that you say that with everybody making clothing. You see what is happening in URCSA today. I don't know how many people, what I'm wearing from head to toe, if I could stand, it's all members of the church that are making, and people that are supported also. We were talking now, saying there are so many people that are making the hats, they are making golf shirts, they are making the uniform. And what is it even? We're talking youth being unemployed. Our church itself, what is the church getting when we all make the merchandise of the church that we are making? Is there something that we need to make sure that we formalize things on paper, as you are saying? But then people start saying, I am going to lose a lot, because the example that you are making, I'm sure you know, Brother Tebogo, that it works, and I know who you are talking about. But when it comes to us, I always say, what kind of a nation are we? Because we always want to get it all. The issue of struggling to share with others, we end up struggling to share with even brothers and sisters that we can be supporting. So I think it needs to start with us to say, I don't want to be the person or one person who is getting everything out of this, but let me ensure that there are others that are getting and receiving. Because the issue with us is that if I make these golf shirts, and the minute we say, okay, you can make for these different regions, but we want you to ensure that the people who are getting something that will support them. Then the same Mrs. Vinqi who must buy is going to say, no, I know Tebogo is making these golf shirts and they are 20 rands a golf shirt. So why are you charging me 25? So we have those issues that are going on in our midst. But the church then, we were talking now in the office saying people are struggling to say, make these things because we are putting on the logo. So this is the amount that we are paying. I don't know how a person can get those to make sure that they benefit the people in the congregations and not just one person. If we're talking specifically, when we talk specifically, the merchandise.
Mamruti, and the merchandise, it was just an example. And, I want us to at least not take the entire time.
Yeah.
And we'll have to rush and wrap up so that we can then allow members to come in. But before we do that, somebody please mute. Before we do that, I think there are key ways that we need to sell and amplify so that we can see the results. If we come in and we say, this is Tebogo's service, uniquely as it is, and we fail to identify collaborative opportunities. I'll make an example. In our church, we have various services that are scattered around. And in most cases, we do not know about those services. We will probably know about one. I'll give you an example. One lady who is doing deco for events. And we know if I want to have an event, I will want an event that is inclusive. So it's deco, it's catering, it's videography and photography, it's transportation and all of that. Do we know in our church that we have those people? Now I will go as a deco lady, I will sell that event to somebody else. But if we have an opportunity to profile each and every service and product within our church, then I'll be able to say, Mr. X, you want an event, I'll give you a package. The package will be deco, catering, transport, videography, and photography, meaning A to Z. But where am I going to get that service? Now I go into the database in our church, and I'm going to get people that are reliable, that have quality, their prices are competitive. Then I bring them together and I say, there's this opportunity. How much is your service? And at the end, when I come to Vinqi, and then I say 27,000 worth of this. Out of that 27,000, each take their fair share. Somebody is, all of us. There's bread, there's sustainability. We come back to the church, everyone can do that. The challenge that we have is that we have individualized our service. And that is the problem. And that it shouldn't be a problem. We need to find a way of collaborating so that we can maximize on our product and services. Another example, I see there is a lady here registered as skincare and something. Weddings, makeup artists and so on, it is also part of that. But the question that we need to ask ourselves and challenge ourselves as the church, in particular the leadership, is that we know as a result of job searching, I find myself in Johannesburg. And I'll find myself in a particular presbytery whereby I'm going to need a service from the day when I land. Number one, where am I going to get those services? I'm going to get them outside the church. But if we have a profile and we have profiled each and every product under that presbytery through AI, artificial intelligence, or a website, or whatever platform, digital platform that we can have, to say, Once you are in Gauteng, under URCSA, these are services that you can get. Mechanics, plumbing, electrical, and those services, they are within our church. So it is high time now where we change this narrative of being a job seekers. But we say we are now going to put proposal and say, church, this is what I do. And I want to end there. But it is very important, brothers and sisters, that we think of a digital platform. And I was telling somebody and I said, often we go to our church with a downloaded Bible and we carry Hosanna supporting that phone. And when they say him mamang, you go and you page for Hosanna. When they say Johanna mamang Bible verse, you go. Why can't we transform and create that platform where we can generate income for the church, even for various ministries, depending on subscriptions that would have generated per congregation, per presbytery, as well as region, then we get, that income. That says you are not in a position now to say, Tebogo, you are unemployed. We are subsidizing those who are in need. But let me go back to this tool in closing. In this tool, it is not only a platform for hymns, it's not only Hosanna, but it must have service, it must have products that we offer per region, per congregation, and so on, including the contact details. If I land myself in Vereeniging and my car breaks in the middle of nowhere, I must be able to go into that website of the church or a particular digital platform to say, who is our mechanic? That when rent that is to circulate 10 times, then I go there and I say, I need a mechanic from URCSA. Failing which, then I say, I call any mechanic and then I empower. So we need to be selfish with our approach now. Failing which, then we are going to compromise the existence and the stability of this church. And these are things that when we talk about this, we need to look into. And it's going to be a continual because of the digitization from artificial intelligence. It needs people to be trained. It needs people to maintain and to service. Therefore, you need people, young people, to be trained in that particular platform. Then you are creating employment. And these are initiatives that we need to start engaging and challenging. I want us to pause there, Mam Rudy, but maybe let me take a few words from you, then we'll wrap up from our side, and we'll hand over back to the chairman so that we can allow more participation and inputs from attendees.
Yeah, thank you for that. As you are talking, I'm thinking our church, we always say URCSA is one of the churches, or if it's not that has many learned people. And we have resources, but it's in the use of those resources that we are not maximizing that use of the resources. We have a church office, but if you can go to our church office in Gauteng and ask where is the youth office, we're not going to find a door where you go and knock and this is the youth office, this is where you get these things. The women's office, the what? We've got the offices there. It just needs us to allow ourselves to use what we have. Secondly, as you are talking about a database, there are people in the office, we don't even need to start something new and reinvent the wheel. There are people there to support us, to say, as youth, this is where we want to start. The people that we're saying are unemployed, these are the people that you can put a table and a chair, and I'm sure we can find a laptop so that the people can start working on that. When this topic came up, I came from traveling, and I said to my son and my daughter, I wish there was an office here close off in our church of the youth wells. We're thinking unemployment, where I can pick up the phone and make a booking for them to come and clean the house. It doesn't need people to go and buy anything, because when they get to, there are many people who are working who are unable to do these things, myself included, at the right time, because you are in meetings on weekends, you are working during the week. Where's our youth to say we have our cleaning services where you can just dial and they are there. They clean your house with your own things and they leave and they get the money. There are women who would love to have babies. These things don't need people to get anything from anywhere. They want babysitters on Saturdays because they need time to relax. Young people who say you can bring your child from 9 on Saturday and you pick them up at 5, they keep them busy, or during the week after school, we have aftercare services. As the youth, they have an office where they manage all their things. It's things that don't need anyone to go and buy anything, but they use somebody else's house who has space for the kids to sit and agree with taking so many things that are easy. People who know that they have washing machines at their homes, who can say, ma, we need to make money. We are going to develop a laundry service, and we're going to wash and iron people's clothes for a certain amount, a 5 rand or 10 rand for a shirt and a skirt. They don't need to go and buy anything big. So it's starting small. But as we say, to know that I don't need to do things alone. We can be 2 or 3 so that we support each other and give each other the strength so that we can stand. And if we are to Soweto, we only work in Tembisa, but there is also who are in Soweto that can assist you. So it's just opening our minds. As I said when I started, we need to have a growth mindset, a mindset that says we can, and we always say we can with the smaller things that are at our disposal. I think for me, those are the things that when young people allow themselves can start with, that can work up to bigger things. Because then you will hear people saying we are getting a space. I mean, our congregations at Monday to Friday, they're open for funerals on Saturdays and for church service Sunday and closed again. What are we doing during the week in those buildings? It's our congregation. Whatever we do will be supporting us and will be supporting the congregation. So I think we need to start to open our minds in that manner so that we are able to do these things, because our faith will be impacted. Because at here at home, they laugh because I say, I pray for everything. When I'm stuck, I say, Lord, please just show me what to do. Where must I go and do this? Let us allow ourselves to sit at the Lord's hands, at the palm of his hands, and allow him to guide us. These things are at our disposal. They just need us to open our hearts and minds.
Yeah, no, true indeed. You know, as I was preparing for this session, I had to do a comparative analysis amongst other countries, you know, as to how are they dealing with this challenge. And some of those countries, you know, include, you know, USA, Kenya, Philippines, Brazil, you know, and others. So I sampled only 5. Then out of all of them, in actual fact, there is one commonality. They have partnered with various NGOs. They have created platforms for incubation programs. They have partnered with various business. They have also, you know, done the skills development programs for the church. Now, and I said, let me bring this. Will this be practical at home, where I write a letter and say, you know, company A, please, we want to have an incubation program. And I'll tell you for free, you know, companies in South Africa, over 90% of them, they do not support religious groups. I'm one of them. We decline based on, you know, it's religious groups, you know, political groups, and so on. Automatically, when they put their policies in place, they say, we do not support this. Unfortunately, as the church, we find ourselves whereby we are being declined even before we can even submit that proposal. But that should not even stop us You know, often we collect, you know, we used to fundraise 60 to 70,000 from a Mokgejane, you know, but that 70,000 is an investment that comes with a debt. Some people, they will go out to borrow money, but remember, it's debt in a sense that you have to return that money with interest. So it is not sustainable. But how do we take that 70,000 rand to say, out of that 70,000 rand, let's take at least 20, 30% to start our own incubation program. We fund it ourselves. And we buy 3 or 4 machines, you know, sewing machines for young ladies and men here, they start something. Others, you know, based on whatever that they have, they will then say, we'll buy, you know, brick making machine. Then 40,000 rand, you can then top it up and say, we're going to look for 40,000 rand and again. So in a medium to long term, you would have created a sustainable solution to say, Mokgejane, in a case whereby it doesn't even generate money, or whereby we have people that are overburdened financially, so you can even take from this project and subsidize, or even pay stipends and salaries for them. Then after paying them, then you say, 100 rand, please give me 100 rand envelope. You have created that, and at least you have retained them. So we really need to look at those initiatives. And I said, you know, some of our churches are beautiful, and we use them, you know, for preaching, for Sunday service only. We do not even exercise the value of that property. I was telling one of my friends, and I said, you know, one of the solutions that you can create in your church is taking that particular church and create it and turn it into event venue, because there is no sufficient event venue in that, but they have a beautiful church. And once you have created that, you say, in this church, there is a lady who's good at, you know, baking wedding cakes or whatever, you know, or you are selling that service already within the church. Now, for you to do draping and put all of this, you are going to need manpower. Bontate me basha come. We have generated 30,000 rand as a result of this. 10,000 rand on a weekly basis goes to the salaries, you know, and wages. 20,000 retained. So the property, how do we utilize those properties? Some, I know in some congregation, they turn them into ECDs. How do we bring that back? But the church leaders must take that stand. We can't have this beautiful property and we do not maximize on them and rely on people to go out there. Mamruti, if you allow me, I think you and I have put various, we have explored various options. And I think it is very important to, when we end this, we are not ending, but I want us to allow some input so that we can then close. With possible solution at the end when we are.
Members at local congregations where there's a woman who was once elected as the treasurer, and a gentleman stood up and said, but this person is not working, she doesn't have a car, how will she then manage do with deal with banking and other things, you know. And you can imagine what that did to the poor old woman. But also to even say, you know, for CYM, and we've seen it in our past Congress when we were going to Port Elizabeth, you know, many of our members were able to attend the Congress because they had to dig deep into their pockets. And now you think of that one congregation in the borderlines of Anzaganzaka in Guyana there, Zingi, where the young people are unemployed. They end up not being able to attend such congresses or conferences. Even to this level, we might take it light and think to connect with mobile data or Wi-Fi, it's something very light. But you still have young people who wish to be part of these conversations, but they are hindered by that part of poverty, which is the result of unemployment. But you have also touched on a very critical thing, creating a database, which and the government is using now. It's called the CSD, the Central Supply Database, to say if we have that and we know that each time I need services in my house, each time I need services at church, printing services, we are able to go to the CSD and check if we have companies or rather individuals who are able to do that work. But I think also we need to blame it to us, the church, that we have adopted this culture of, for a lack of a better word, abusing people, always requiring people to provide skills in the church and not really compensating, not even just to say thank you, you know. But we are able to call big catering companies and we pay them quite a lump sum, but we are unable to say, no, 10 members of the CYM come cook for us. We don't have much. We have 3,000 rand aside for you. But I think the approach that you are really bringing would best assist the church. And Brother Tebogo, thanks to say this must be documented. It must not only be documented for the purpose of young people, but it's a document that must be presented at the General Synod with the intention that it will be cascaded down to regional synod presbyteries and then congregations. Because at some time we need to stand in the meeting of the church while we are busy arguing with politics of self-enrichment. But we say, where is our brother and where is our sister? We need to start checking on the well-being of our brothers and sisters. Thank you very much, colleagues. I'm going to allow this time for questions, comments. We will then start with members platform, and then the technical team will deal with questions from the YouTube Live or comments from the YouTube Live and the meeting platform. Let me recognize this Sister Emily. I will give you a minute to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, beloved. Thank you so much for a very robust engagement, beloved. My brother from the one and only, the greatest Paro region, I recognize you. Mine, I have heard the engagement in terms of youth unemployment. But I think what we must do as the church, and Madam President, I believe our ministry is a ministry for mothers. We have produced students with qualifications. I hear the topic of merchandise, cake baking. And I do merchandise as a, by the way, side hustle. And I would not want to reduce my fellow sister, who is a qualified lawyer, an LLB graduate, or a psychologist, to having to resort to that. I believe that the church is one of the easiest money-making industry. Hence, you find people, you know, mushrooming with churches. URCSA is so big and so large. What I would encourage or what I would request is that with the CMCM as an integrated ministry through the IM model, we should never be found to be outsourcing outside of the church. The last GS Congress and the upcoming congresses of our GS meetings, We go out there as excos and we are always exhausted. Excos are the ones that are sitting. You would find a Mamuruti and a scribe going out and sourcing codes. We are not professional event organizers. We have these in our CYMs. As the church and as ministries, we need to then say, where our qualified event organizers. It cannot be correct. I know I'm speaking for Tshwane Presbytery. We are looking to host our conference here in Tshwane. You find an accountant, an LLB graduate who is fully employed, having to go at 30 minutes, I love you venue. And that's why after every of our conferences, we always have these issues that because we do not have an oversight, I can book a venue because I think I know what is beautiful. But a qualified event organizer in the CYM would have sourced the best venue for us and would have negotiated, would have taken due diligence. So all I'm saying is that let us not just expect our youth to go for plan B. Let us use them for what they are qualified for. The church is always in court. If I may say, I only, I think it's advocate Kilo One, who is always representing the church, although sometimes he's representing the other side, the other wing. But where our LLB graduate, who should be looking at these matters from local congregations? If anything, we need to have a database and skills, and let us use people for what they are qualified for. For me, it will not. The SMCPA, we have lots of IT graduates here, but I must recognize that, acknowledge that the challenge also begins in our church councils. Our church council still does not recognize the youth and the skills that they bring there. They still want to be very autocratic. We as integrated ministries, especially the special ministries, we need to be the advocate of each and every ministry. Where CWM comes into play, CWM must offer those skills. Where there are youth opportunities, we need not even, if Marachidi comes as an IT person and say, I am going to write, a statement on behalf of the church. No, you need to say no. What communication skills do you have, Nema Rachidi? We have people who are fully qualified as communication skills, people who can be spokesperson to the presidency, to the what. We find the General Synod being responded by pastors. Ministers cannot be responding to matters of the General Synod whenever the General Synod is tainted, because you are a preacher. Stick to preaching. Let a qualified communication specialist respond. The communication, if we are asking for funding, let us ask financially qualified people to ask for funding. That's why we will never grow, because of Fiora Chidi is mushrooming as everything. Today she's selling poncho. Today she's creating ponchos to posters. Tomorrow she's the scribe of the church. No, you are the scribe of the church, take minutes. But the scribe of the church can distribute that poster. That poster must first be vetted by legal team. And our judicial commission must exist in all structures of our churches. All I'm saying is that let us not encourage our youth to just do these tent making jobs. Because if I'm selling poncho, that's a tent making job. It's a part-time job. Use me for the skills that I bring here. That is then when I can feel that I'm employed. But we cannot be ministers. Our ministers, I don't want to lie. Our ministers are not doing justice to our church. They have deployed themselves in all spheres of our churches. And that is why we will never grow. So let us employ people who are fully qualified for the jobs. And let us be able to recognize, because it is us, you and I, Marvin, who have paid that university school fees. We have come to the ministry and say, pray for my child to be employed. But when my child must be employed in the church, someone is doing my child's job, whom I have paid the university fees for. Thank you, beloved. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Marachidi. Thank you so much. And by the way, Marachidi, she's also a minister of the word in making. Yeah. Colleagues, from the technical team, I don't know who I'm having. Please assist us with any comments from our online platform. And colleagues, if there are any other hands, please indicate so that I can recognize you at once.
Good evening, Chair. Oh, okay, you can go on, sir.
Brother Butani, continue.
Good evening, colleagues. Chair, it's not much of a question. Oh, okay, we do have a question. So the first one is more of a comment. It says, pain changes. Some people become rude, some become silent. And it continues to say the importance of having database of all the entrepreneurs in church. Then there's another comment to say very insightful conversation, and I think this is it's a question from Nana Mului. It says, "How is the church currently evaluating the effectiveness of its youth engagement strategies? Are there clear, defined objectives and measurable indicators in place to assess spiritual growth, participation level, leadership involvement, and socio-economic support outcome for the youth? In addition, what specific tools such as need assessment, feedback mechanism, regular monitoring, or impact reports are being utilized to ensure accountability and continuous improvement of these strategies?" Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Perhaps do you have names of people who posted the comments?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
recording.
Yeah, sure. The comment is from Gitumezi, Liaboy, as well as I'm just Dinosius Mohape, as well as the question is from Nana Mului. And I see there was also just a question that came in now from Buitumelo saying, what initiatives have churches taken to address unemployment and encourage youth participation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Over to you, brother moderator and guest.
So when every time when I hear a person talking and saying, how is the church doing this, or what does the church do about this, then I ask myself, who is the church? Because for me, if we're talking about how the church is evaluating the effectiveness of youth engagement strategies, so it's youth strategies, where does the youth stand in that? Because I think for me, the best person to answer this question would be a young person who says, this is how we do it as the youth. Because if you listen to youth all the time, they say, no, adults don't understand us. They don't listen to us. They don't this. So it means the youth knows how they do things and how they want things to be done. So I would chair say, maybe the youth would be the best to say, how do we do this as the youth? Do we have these clear objectives and indicators? What are they? Because for anybody to then evaluate those and monitor those, they need to know what they are. And I think as we were talking throughout the session, we've also seen that there's a gap that we have, because when we talk church leadership, we talk the church, and we talk the youth. So it means we need to find a way of coming together. Usisemeli was saying we need to use our CM to say, where in CM where we all come together, where is it that the space for us to really engage in this and know what it is that the person wants to see happening. So how are we doing this as the youth? And how are we saying to the church, this is where, as church leadership, as the mothers, we want you to come in? Because, I mean, the reality that we know is that in the church, the mothers are looking at what we do as the women, men are looking at what they are doing as men, and we are all in these small pockets. But I think for me to be able to answer that question fully, it first needs the space to be created where we say we all understand and know what it is that is happening and what it is that we are looking to achieve.
I think for me, and Mabruk, you are spot on. We need to initiate these discussions, but and often the responsibilities lies with, the leadership, which is incorrect. In most cases, the leadership can lead, but they can lead, the session whereby members are informed, and there's a say that says, nothing about us without us. So we need to find that expression. But going back to the strategy, it is very important that, you cannot run an institution of whatever kind without a strategy, without clear objectives detailed in that strategy. And in here, I think a paper needs to be produced as a mechanism to try and cap the unemployment within our church, and which will then say, this is how we are going to address this, both spiritually as well as economically. And most of the time, colleagues, we find ourselves spending more time, correctly so, yes, on the spiritual side. And we miss various opportunities through our congresses, finding ourselves in the politics of the church that does not even uplift the economical situation of the church, even the individuals. And you are right, Brother Mokgejane, to say at some point we just need to hold the leadership accountable to say, hang on, let us discuss these economical imperatives within our church and its challenges. So from where I'm sitting, and I'm not sure, and the leadership of the church, in actual fact of the CYM, will come in terms of what they have. But if there is an existence of that strategy, I think for me, we need to look at things like, skills development programs. But the skills development programs, we need to know exactly what is it that we are targeting, because it cannot be vague. We need to specifically say this is our interest based on the gap analysis that we have done, but also the demand. And I often tell people that the artificial intelligence is here to stay. And one question, probably at some point, we just need to look at the effect of technological change within the church and how we're going to do things as opposed to traditional way of doing things. How are we going to digitize things in the church? And I see Brother Mokgejane with a very creative, and he says, I've created a URC business hub, things that we're talking about. But who will be managing that? Not necessarily an IT person, but we can get people through that skills development program to be trained, to be equipped, and so on. And we pay. And if it is my brother next to me, it's not me, I must embrace and support that brother. Not why not me? Because often that is killing us. And secondly, in that, we need to have job network. Somebody said something very powerful here. We have that handful of people that are employed. And in their companies, institutions, and so on, there are opportunities in various forms. And even if there aren't opportunities existing at that point, how do we share that information to say, go and study this, go and do this, and then we have that job network. But how do we ensure that we empower those that are coming behind us, that are still in high school, so that, they have that motive to continue, with their educational platform? But the business incubation program, very, very important. I looked at various churches, in particular, some of these charismatic churches, they don't run a church, but they run a business, and then the church, as they often, I'm not suggesting that we do the same, but they create that platform so that at least they have income. And some are questionable, and we must find ourselves in, initiatives that are not questionable. And I've raised a couple of, suggestions, and that strategy must outline as to how we are going to unpack this. And lastly, volunteer, because through volunteer, and that is where we start learning, because skills development, you need to go into that incubation or that particular program to volunteer, to learn, to acquire, then when opportunities arises. And that's how we need to develop that particular strategy. And the strategy answering to that question, which will then address in terms of how we are going to implement it, monitor it, and make sure that, you know, it is evaluated continuously. So it needs to follow the SMART principle. It must be specific, measurable, attainable, time-bound, and most importantly, I forgot, must be realistic. And that's with that background, I say we don't have to, you know, degrade and start doubting ourselves. We need to start somewhere, even if it can be a one-pager, even if it can be a congregation, to a presbytery, to a region, up until General Synod. Something must give, you know, throughout. And we must also go and benchmark to say, Southern Synod, you are doing well in this program. How did you get it right? We must always benchmark against each other, not compete. And this is the way for us to win this battle. But it's a start from now. We just need to ensure that we keep pressing and ensure that we do. We need to monitor this, and the database will then need to give us an indication to say, from this we have about, and I'll give an example, you know, hypothetical speaking, 7,000 unemployed youth across, you know, URCSA, and we need to come back and say, how are we going to decrease and set targets and say at least we want 10% of those to be employed on an annual basis. How we're going to do that, and we need to follow that process throughout, because we can't put it there if we are not going to monitor and evaluate if our strategy is working or not. Let me just pause here, Chairperson, back to you. Thank you, Mamru.
Thanks, my brother. I think you have done justice to the comments and the questions. It's now 12 minutes to the hour 20. I don't see any other, and technical team will assist me if I'm missing any hand. And if we don't have any hand, it's now in 10 minutes. I'll be extending the call to Brother Pule or Brother Lwazi to give actually for you, the moderator and the guest, to just round up, and then we extend the program over to the deputy chairperson.
As I've indicated, Chairman, look, this is a thorny issue, and as the church, we need to unfold our arms, think differently. We need to challenge our leaders, our ministers. They must also have confidence in what we are trying to achieve. Through this discussion, to say there is something that is coming up, but it must not just end as a talk show. You know, for me, if tomorrow one of the congregation will come back, or the ministry says we managed to create an employment for 1 or 2, it is an achievement. And that's where I'm saying we need to start somewhere. We don't even need to wait for the formalities. With those words, Mamuruti, thank you very much for your guidance, for your inputs in this critical aspect, but most importantly to our attendees, our CYM members, and other ministries that have joined us, church leaders as well. And in closing, we remain hopeful that the status quo will change, provided, like one of the commentators said, we need to ensure that we source within. If we are unable to find that service or product, we then go out. And if we find it, refer it to say, I found this best service and a product within our member. But we must continuously seek for improvement so that we can improve our service, so that we can retain that particular service and product beyond even URCSA community. With those words, thank you very much, colleagues. Mamuruti, back to you.
Thank you very much, Brother Tebogo. From my side, to the youth, firstly, I want to say, believe in yourself. Where you are, God has put something in your hand. Believe in yourself. And secondly, if you don't know where to go or how to start or who to believe and go to, go back to the Creator. Ask God and ask God to guide you as to who to bring in to your space so that you can fulfill His purpose with your life. And I promise you that God will respond because He wants us to succeed. He wants us to live lives that are purposeful. Lastly, the space that you are in, what you have in your hand, start there. When we talk about change, we say it starts with me, it starts where I am, and with what I have in my disposal. So don't lose sight of what is at your disposal. Start small. Don't look for big things. Start small and allow yourself to grow from there. I listened to the conversation you had with Reverend Benenge, and it's always something that I say to young people, that don't look to start big or have big things whilst you are at the beginning stages. Start small and allow yourself to grow. And stand up, speak up. Adults stand back because we always say, we don't know what these people, the young people want. And the young people say, older people don't understand us. Speak up. Say what it is that you want and say how you want to be supported so that you can grow in this space. God is listening and God will make it work for all of us. All the best as you continue with the conversations and as you continue seeing yourselves taking charge of your lives. And don't look at that is yourself, putting yourself out there and living your purpose. Thank you very much. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mamaruti. Thank you, Brother Tebogo. We are closing, and I'm going to invite Brother Lwazi. I'm not sure, technical team, if Brother Lwazi is in the call. He might be in the call, not using his gadget. Let's allow him time to extend vote of thanks to our guests and members who join this platform. Brother Lwazi.
He's not on the call, Chair.
All right, no, thanks. Brother Pule, is he still in the call?
Yes, he is.
Brother Pule, please extend a vote of thanks, also couple it with announcement.
Thank you, Brother Chairperson. Ndate Moyahabo, thank you very much. Before I can do the announcement, allow me to actually invite, through you, Chair, invite my fellow colleague, Sister Matati Muloto, the CE member, to pass the vote of thanks to our distinguished guests and then the moderator. Then immediately after she's done, then I'll move to the announcement. Through you, Chair. Thank you. Ma'am Matati.
Thank you so much, my brother. Good evening, colleagues. Batswadi ba rena, Mama V, together with Tebogo. We just want to appreciate on behalf of the Central Executive and the youth community as a whole, to just appreciate the time that you have given us, or the honor in which you have given us to be part of this conversation. Unemployment is a thorn in our communities, in our nation, in our church communities. But if we come together as a church, one of the things that we always, or one of the missions that we strive for with these conversations is for the church to start talking, to stop being quiet on matters of society, quiet on matters of the church, quiet on matters of politics, because the very same people who are part of community are the same people who are part of the church. So it is time, perhaps, as a church, we speak up on issues that affect us. And as young people, we took this upon ourselves to say it is time for the church to be vocal, and we really appreciate your efforts. We really appreciate your time. Members, we just want to take this opportunity to appreciate each and every week you come forth. When we send out the invitations, you show up in numbers. And colleagues, we just want to say we're still going ahead. We're encouraging you to still continue. This is history being made in the United Reformed Church, and we're just saying, please encourage others as well to not be wary of attending these sessions. They will help us. This is part of us writing a history for ourselves as the Christian Youth Ministry. We just want to appreciate. Thank you so much, Mwaledi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, the Chairperson of Northern Sino. Thank you very much, Ausi, for passing a vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly move to the announcements. On the 13th of May, we'll be having the sixth episode, the same conversation as this one, whereby we'll be having a topic under the recruitment of youth in the theology ministry. The moderator of the session will be Reverend Thabambo Kolwane, and we'll be having two guests, Reverend M.S. Maponya and Reverend Mosted. Majority of these people are serving on the MFTT, of which Reverend Maponya is the principal of the NTS at Northern Theology Seminary. Right, the second announcement is that on the 9th to 11th of May 2025, the Central Executive will be having their first meeting in URCSA. This one is just for noting, just to know that on the 9th, it will be the meeting of the executive. From the 10th of May, it will be the workshop of the leaders. It will be collaborated with the UEM workshop. So, and on the 11th, it will be the church service. So it's important that all the stakeholders that have been invited to attend this meeting. Lastly, the most important one, leadership. The Central Executive General Synod CYM have circulated the information pertaining to the UEM volunteer program participation. We call all the applicants to inquire with their regional secretaries or regional executive committee to get proper information there. But all those who are interested